All right, we're back for our daily college basketball best bets here for Monday, January 6th. We've got, of course, conference play continuing. We get some action over in the Big Ten that we're going to really look in today, obviously, into. We got Wisconsin and Rutgers, a big game, obviously, at the Jersey Mike's Arena in New Jersey, and obviously Ohio State and Minnesota being played in Minneapolis. Those two games and more are going to be featured today in our 5 best bets for college basketball. And folks, if you haven't yet, though, make sure to hit that subscribe button down below for some more daily college basketball best bets here on the channel. In an hour, we will be posting our NBA predictions. Actually, maybe in a couple hours. I don't know. You'll know when this video is up. If this video is up at 8 and this video is going to be out at 10, I'm talking about the NBA video. Well, regardless, the NBA video is up at 10. It's just, I don't know if I'm going to post the college basketball video at 8 or 9, but regardless, you're watching the video, so that doesn't matter to you. So again, make sure you go check out our NBA predictions, either coming in an hour or in 2 hours here on the channel. And also, yesterday we posted our first UFC predictions video of 2025. Our first card is UFC Fight Night Dern versus Hebos in the UFC Apex. Go make sure to check that video out in the description down below. And also, go make sure to check out our college football predictions with the Final Four for college football this year. And also, tonight is the FCS championship game between the Montana State Bobcats and the North Dakota State Bison. We predicted that video. And, of course, the Orange and the Cotton Bowl in the description down below. All right, let's get now into our 5 best bets for today. We're going to start off with this Rutgers and Wisconsin game. I feel like Rutgers has to come through here. I just feel like they have to. They've got the 2 best players in the court. That's, I feel like, a pretty safe bet. Wisconsin's got some players, but obviously we're talking about Ace Bailey and we're talking about Dylan Harper. I just want Rutgers to figure it out, man. I just want them to figure it out. Because yes, once you get past Harper and once you get past Bailey, it's rough. It is rough. Rutgers is 8-6 this season. In Big Ten play, they are 1-2. They've got losses to Ohio State and to Penn State, losses to Ohio State and Indiana, and a win over Penn State. Now, the win against Penn State was in New Jersey. It was at Rutgers, and that's their only victory so far in Big Ten play. This game against Wisconsin is in New Jersey as well. Rutgers has lost some big games this season. They lost to Bama. They lost to A&M. They've lost on the road to Kennesaw. They lost to Princeton. But I feel Rutgers finally has to come through, right? Losing a game on January 2nd last Thursday in Bloomington at Assembly Hall to Indiana is a game where Ace Bailey puts up 39 points and the team loses. I mean, it's crazy. This Rutgers team, again, the output they get every night out of Bailey and Harper is insane. Again, you've got Ace Bailey who's averaging 24 points a night, give or take, and then Dylan Harper is averaging, 20? Or did I get him flipped? Sorry. Dylan Harper is averaging 24, 23. Ace Bailey's averaging 20, but still both these guys, again, are putting out crazy amounts of output, and this team is still 8-6 and 1-2 in the Big Ten. I just feel like they have to be better. And I think this is the game where they can win. Wisconsin, 11-3 as a whole this season, but another team that is 1-2 in Big Ten play this year. Their only win at home, a high-scoring affair. They were able to drop 116 points on Iowa. They won the game 116-85, but their losses in Big Ten play on the road in Urbana-Champaign to Illinois, losing the game by 6 points, and losing to Michigan at home earlier this year as well. They went on a 3-game losing streak. Those were their only losses this season. We're talking about Michigan, at Marquette, and then at Illinois. Since that, they've won 3 games in a row, beating the Butler Bulldogs, beating Detroit Mercy, and obviously that victory over Iowa. In that Iowa game, again, it was their first win in Big Ten play this year. Wisconsin got a huge night out of John Blackwell. Blackwell had 30-plus points, 8 boards. He's the guy who's averaging 15. John Tung averaging 18.5 right now. But Blackwell, again, really came through in that Iowa game for Wisconsin. But again, playing at home in the Big Ten makes a difference. Unless you're the Penn State Nittany Lions, because, of course, the one time we back Penn State, they lose at home to the Indiana Hoosiers. But no, being at home in the Big Ten really matters. Wisconsin going all the way to Rutgers. Rutgers, I believe, has the 2 best players in the court. I don't think that's, too hot of a take between Bailey and Harper. Those are the 2 best guys in the court, and Rutgers should win this basketball game. The odds are close to even. We're getting plus 1.5 for Rutgers. We are getting exactly even odds for the Scarlet Knights at plus 100. I feel like Rutgers almost is bound to break through. They have to, break the glass ceiling of sorts. Again, both these teams are 1-2 in Big Ten play this year. We've seen Wisconsin go on the road and lose in Big Ten play this year against Illinois. Rutgers, whose only win in Big Ten play is at home against Penn State, and that's the only time they've been at home so far for Big Ten play. Again, their other losses are in Columbus and at Indiana. Rutgers has not lost to New Jersey yet this season, or at least at home in New Jersey. Their losses neutral sites against Bama and A&M, in Columbus, in Bloomington, and then a neutral site game against the Princeton Tigers. I think Rutgers comes through here. Give me the Scarlet Knights at home to win and obviously cover the 1.5 points against the Wisconsin Badgers as well to go to 2-2 in Big Ten play. Next up, we move on to some small school basketball. So again, other than the 2 Big Ten games today, which we're going to go over both of them, we are going to choose to look at some small school basketball. I get it. There's a game in the American Conference today between the USF Bulls and the Wichita State Shockers. There's a game between Texas Christian and Houston. Again, big name teams, but ultimately games that I just don't like the value in. These other games I like a lot more, and we're now going to go to the Southland Conference for the first of 2. We're going to have 2 Southland games today. And we like UT Rio Grande Valley to go on the road to Southeastern Louisiana and win. They're the much better basketball team. I don't think going to, where does Southeastern Louisiana play it, to Hammond, Louisiana is going to make much of a difference in this basketball game. Because again, I think UT Rio Grande is the better team. We're going to take the Vaqueros in this one. They're just the better team. Again, they're a 10-4 squad this season, and I get it. They've padded their record with 3 wins over NIAAs. We're talking about schools such as Champion Christian, they've got 4 of these. Champion Christian, Northern New Mexico, who I believe is a D2, the College of Biblical Studies, and Dallas Christian. So yeah, the Vaqueros aren't beating the best competition. That's fine. Southeastern Louisiana really doesn't beat anybody. But again, we look at what the Vaqueros have done this season, right? Losses to big name teams. Nebraska, Creighton. Only a 3-point loss on the road to Wisconsin, who was ranked 19th at the time. They got blown out against Lamar, but Lamar's low-key not horrible. They've been on kind of a run, though, right? They've won, I believe, 8 out their last 9 games, with the only loss being to Lamar. The wins, Lemoyne, Stephen F. Austin, Southern Utah, New Orleans on the road, going to the Privateers and winning, and I get it. The Privateers are the other team in the Southland Conference that is 0-3. Actually, there's 4 of them, It's New Orleans, East Texas A&M, Southeastern Louisiana, and Stephen F. Austin are the 4 winless teams so far in the Southland, of course, conference-wise. But hell, going on the road and beating the Privateers, a decent victory for the Vaqueros. Their other win in conference play is a win over Stephen F. Austin, and of course they lost to Lamar as well, which of course is their only conference loss, and they look like maybe the best team right now in the conference. McNeese is pretty good. We'll get to McNeese in a minute. But again, the win over Stephen F. Austin, conference victory. Stephen F. Austin, I understand, is 0-3, but I do think the Vaqueros are better than the Southeastern Louisiana Lions. We've picked against this team before. We picked the Ragin' Cajuns to pick up a victory against them when the game was in the Cajun Dome. The Ragin' Cajuns won that one by 7 points. What has Southeastern Louisiana done since? They beat Grambling on the road. They beat Loyola New Orleans, don't know what that is. And they went on the road, got killed by McNeese, lost the game by 28 points. And then Texas A&M Corpus Christi beat them by 9, again, rounding out their 3 games so far in the Southland Conference. Southeastern Louisiana is just very mid. They are led, and most nights, the guy who does lead them in points is Sam Hines Jr. He averages 15 points a night. They're going to see the most output out of him. They have 8 straight games where Hines is leading them in points. But I do think the Vaqueros are just the better basketball team. They had a game earlier in the year. I get it. It was against the College of Biblical Studies. But they had a game where it was Cliff Davis dropped 42 points, which is insane. I get it. It's against an NIAA school, but still, Cliff Davis, a guy who averages 13 points a night, was able to put up 42 earlier in the season. And here's the thing with the Vaqueros. This is why I think they beat Southeastern Louisiana. For one, I don't think the home court advantage for the Lions is going to be anything of note. Let's just be honest. Again, we've seen Southeastern Louisiana host games before in the Southland Conference this season, and they've lost. We're talking about that game against Texas A&M Corpus Christi literally just 2 days ago. I get it, short time off, but still, it's not going to make too much of a difference, okay? For the Vaqueros, this is a team, again, that has been able to go on the road, and I get it, it's against the private tiers of New Orleans, but they've been able to go on the road and win so far in the Southland Conference. And for the Vaqueros, they just have more guys that can hurt you. They got KT Ramey, who's averaging 13.5 points per game. Hassan Abdul Hakim's averaging 13. Cliff Davis averaging 12.5. You got DK Thorne, who's averaging 12. And you also got Trey Miller, who's their point guard, who averages 9.5 points per game, but also, again, leads that team in assists. I do think the Vaqueros are just the way better basketball team. I honestly don't really care that the game's in Louisiana. Hell, they're right there in Texas. To be honest, I don't know where Rio Grande Valley is. Actually, I think that's down south. Let's real quick. Hey, we gotta look at our geography lessons real quick. All right, let's look this up. UT Rio Grande Valley. Yep, here we go. I believe this is down south, right? It has to be. Jim Hickey went here, really? If my memory serves me right, this is like close to Mexico, and it is literally right on the border. Wow. Okay. So, I mean, going to Louisiana, I mean, that's like, yeah, drive up the coast. It's like a 4-hour drive. Anyways, see, I kind of forgot that the star is literally like where they are in the logo. Okay, regardless, forget about that. Not that. We are taking UT Rio Grande Valley to go on the road and beat Southeastern Louisiana. They've just got more guys that can hurt the Lions, and the Lions have to hurt the Vaqueros. Give me UT Rio Grande Valley to win the basketball game. We're going to take them, obviously, to cover the 1.5 points as well on the road. I don't think the short rest is going to play too much of a factor in this game. They're just the better basketball team. Let's go on to our third best bet of the video. We go to our guys over there in Norfolk, Virginia. We've got the Norfolk State Spartans taking on the Delaware State Hornets. You know, we've been all over Norfolk State this season. I've been saying it all year long. They are winning the MEAC this season. They're by far the best team in this conference, and it's only a conference with 8 squads, but they're going to show why they're, just one of the better teams in this conference with a victory again over Delaware State. Norfolk State, their first conference game, beat the crap out of Maryland Eastern Shore. So again, Maryland Eastern Shore goes to Norfolk State, and Norfolk State beats them by 22 points. And again, I keep hyping them up every video, but I will continue to do it. Brian Moore Jr. is an absolute dog. Brian Moore averages 20 points a game. He leads this Norfolk State team, and ultimately he better win the MEAC Player of the Year, at least Conference Player of the Year, because he's by far the best guy in this conference. He can attack the rim. He can shoot it when needed. I really like Brian Moore a lot. I saw him play in person against Stanford in November, and again, I've been high on this Norfolk State team ever since. We picked them in the Mohegan Sun HBCU Classic, where they beat Alabama State and Grambling State. They went on the road to beat High Point. I told you they're going to cover as 8.5 point favorites. They ended up winning the game outright, 8.5 point underdogs, They ended up winning the game outright on the road at High Point. They covered against Tennessee, only losing by 15 points, and they, of course, beat Maryland Eastern Shore. I really think this is a good Norfolk State team. Again, I don't want to get ahead of myself, but this is a team that could potentially, really shock a team as a 15-2 matchup in the tournament. I'm serious. They've got that type of potential. I've seen them play competitive basketball somewhat with Tennessee, definitely competitive basketball at Stanford this year. I really like the Norfolk State Spartans. They should dust everyone in the MEAC. It's not that good of a conference. Delaware State, they're a 7-8 basketball team. What have they done so far in the MEAC? They lost to Howard. We've picked Howard before, and we've bet on Howard before. It was a horrible decision. So, again, this team lost to the Howard Bison. They're not that good. They went to Howard, they went to DC, lost the game by 6 points. They went to St. Joseph's, obviously got killed in that basketball game. Delaware State, I think they're better than some of the other teams in this conference, I think, because there really are some bad teams in the MEAC, and obviously when you compare to some of the other HBCUs that they played in that little invitational at the Mohegan Sun, the same one that Norfolk State was in. Hell, Norfolk State went 2-0 in that thing. Delaware State went 2-0 as well, because Delaware State literally played the same teams Norfolk beat. They both beat Grambling and Alabama State, but Norfolk really decimated those teams, and Delaware State was a little bit more competitive with those squads. But ultimately, Norfolk State's just the better basketball team. Delaware State can score. I'll give them that. They have guys who can effectively get to the hoop and score. We're talking about Maratz Robinson, who's averaging 17 points tonight, and Robert Smith, who's averaging 16, and also Kasim Watson averages 14 points. I don't think it's a bad Delaware State team. I just think Norfolk State's just much better. Norfolk State's got really good bigs. They're able to crash the glass effectively. And again, Brian Moore, I truly think just makes all the difference in these games. I think Brian Moore's, going to be the best scorer on the court. I think all around he's just the the best player on the court. And also, again, Norfolk State's able to shoot it a lot better than this Delaware State team. Again, I really don't care that the game's being played in Dover, Delaware. I think Norfolk State is the better basketball team. I'm not going to lie to you. I do like Norfolk State a lot. This isn't my favorite pick of the day. It's, again, in the top 5, obviously. It's not number 1. I guess if I had to rank a number 1 play, it might be our next one, honestly. No, it might be Rutgers. I don't know. But this isn't 1 or 2, I'll be honest with you. It's in the top 5. I think Norfolk State definitely wins. 6.5's a little bit tricky. I think they'll get it done. But again, I'm not all over it. Again, it's one of the top 5 plays of the day, so don't get me wrong. It's not like I dislike the play at all. It's just, I think there's better today. But again, I don't mind Norfolk State at all in this spot. They should be able to win. I really like Brian Moore. I've been hyping up the Spartans all year long, and I'm only going to continue to do that. Give me Norfolk State to win on the road here in Dover, Delaware, against the Delaware State Hornets. Let's move on to our 4th best bet of the video, and we will now head to Northwestern State in, I don't even know how to say, guys, I'll be honest, I don't know how to say this city's name. If anyone is from Northwestern State, you can tell me where this is from, or sorry, you can tell me where this is. I'll show it on the screen right now. How do you, oh, that's that. How do you say this city's name? I'm gonna try, okay. Natchitoches, Louisiana? Where in Louisiana is this? Where is in Louisiana? It's right by the border. Okay, it's right next to Texas. It only has 17,000 people in this city? Natchitoches, Louisiana. It looks really like Old Town, I'm not gonna lie. Regardless, that's of course the home of Northwestern State, and we're taking them to cover the 10.5 points at home in this conference game in the Southland Conference against McNeese. I actually really like this play. I have faded McNeese a couple times this season. I get it, they're on a 4-game winning streak. Wins over Louisiana, a win over New Orleans, a win over Southeastern Louisiana, and a win on the road at East Texas A&M. If you want to, again, just look right at the points. I'm not making the case at all that Northwestern State's going to win this basketball game, because ultimately I don't think it's even worth talking about. I think they could win, but we are really just focusing and eyeing in on them covering the 10.5 points in this basketball game, which is fine. Again, McNeese is on a 5-game winning streak. They beat Louisiana by 8 points on the road in the Cajun Dome, and blew out New Orleans and Southeastern Louisiana. And then again, went to East Texas A&M and only won the game by 9 points. Again, that's an East Texas A&M team that's 2-12 this season and 0-3 in the Southland Conference. Northwestern State is a squad this year that is 3-0 in conference play and 6-7 as a whole. But we can talk about their non-league schedule. They've played some really good teams. Again, 3-0 in the Southland Conference. We're talking about wins over Incarnate Word. Incarnate Word, a 2-1 team in conference this year. Their only loss being Northwestern State. A victory over Houston Christian, which honestly is not a horrible team. They went on the road and beat Houston Christian. I get their record doesn't really replicate how good Houston Christian is, but we've picked them before this year and they have cashed for us. And their other one being a win over Nichols in their last game just a couple days ago, winning that game by 2 points. So Northwestern State is a squad that is 6-7 this season. Their losses are Texas Tech, Oklahoma, at Rice. They lose that game in Texas in overtime. UL Monroe, they lose by 2 points. They go to Baton Rouge and lose to LSU, whatever. They go to Cal and lose, who cares? And they go to Texas and lose. I really think this is a great spot for Northwestern State. All of their losses are against great teams, and even the teams that they lose to that might not be at the power 4 level of sorts, like the Big 12 teams that they play. Or I guess Oklahoma and Texas are in the SEC now, but regardless, right? They're able to stay competitive with Rice in the road. They almost beat UL Monroe. I don't mind this Northwestern State team at all. They play really good defense, and they are led by Addison Patterson and John Sanders II, both those guys averaging 13 and 11 respectively. And for McNeese, again, are they the favorites to win the Southland? Probably. I think Lamar's better personally, but whatever. McNeese, again, they win games, right? We talked about their 5-game winning streak. They've got wins this year over North Texas, Illinois State, Longwood, but I can't trust Longwood at all, man. I'm never trusting Longwood again for the rest of the season. McNeese has lost to teams like Liberty, South Dakota State, Santa Clara. Honestly, all 3 of those teams are somewhat sleepers for us this season. McNeese went to Tuscaloosa, only lost the game by 8 points to Bama. Who cares? But the Cowboys are currently led by Sincere Parker, who averages 15 points a game. They got a guy in Allen Breed, who is one of their best guys. He's only played the first 2 games of the season. He's been injured since, but Allen Breed in those 2 games played 30 minutes, averaged 30 minutes, put up 18 points in those 2 games. Again, average-wise, he has not played since the Alabama game in the second game of the season. But again, with Breed's absence, it's been Sincere Parker, it's been Javon Garcia, it's been Christian Shoemate, who have all been averaging more than 10 points a night for McNeese. I think, again, Northwestern State plays a really good defensive game. I think, again, their guys are going to be able to produce in this one. I wouldn't be surprised if they outright win it. But the pick here, and a pick that, again, I like a lot today, is Northwestern State at home in Louisiana, and they cover the 10.5 points. Again, they are 10.5 point dogs at home. They are 3-0 in the Southland Conference, and McNeese just went on the road, only beat East Texas A&M by 9 points, and that's a team that's 2-12 in the regular season and 0-3 in conference play this year. I love Northwestern State in this spot. Give me the Demons to cover the 10.5 points at home. We don't care who wins the basketball game. We just need Northwestern State to cover. Give me the Demons at home. Let's go into our final game of the video, and of course we mentioned it earlier, and we will start with the Big Ten, and we will end with the Big Ten, and we go to Minneapolis, Minnesota. I think Ohio State covers. I think they do. I'll be honest again, guys. I'll rank the plays today, okay? Northwestern State 1, Rutgers 2, UT Rio Grande Valley 3, Norfolk State 4, Ohio State 5. Not to say I don't like every single one of them, because I do. I wouldn't put this video out. I wouldn't tell you guys these are my best bets of the day if I didn't like all of them. But again, confidence level, this is probably number 5. Why? I feel like Minnesota this is more of a pity reason, but I feel like Minnesota has to play a close game eventually, right? I don't think they beat Ohio State. I don't. But I feel like eventually they're going to have to play a close one, right? They haven't been competitive yet in the Big Ten at all. So again, it just feels like to me, okay, this is way too good to be true spot. Okay, this is all this is. I still like Ohio State. Again, I just said it, and I'll say it again. It's not like I don't like this spot. I like all of the spots. But I feel like Minnesota's got to play a close game eventually, right? But no, we're still taking Ohio State, obviously. Again, I don't think we're falling into a trap here. I don't think. The game's in Minneapolis. All right, Ohio State was just on the road. They lost in East Lansing to Michigan State. They lose the game by 7 points on Friday. Now they get this game, obviously, on Monday. They return home for a big game against Oregon on Thursday. Ohio State is 1-2 in conference this year in the Big Ten. Losses to Michigan State and to Maryland, where they got blown out on the road at Maryland. And obviously, they were able to beat Rutgers, Ace Bailey, and Dylan Harper at home in Columbus. Yes, Ohio State's been bad and really bad. They got blown out in their only game on the road so far in Big Ten play this year. But Minnesota is still so horrible. Nothing's changed that. Again, Ohio State led by Bruce Thornton, averaging 17 points a night. Devin Royal is averaging 14. You get John Mobley, who's averaging 12. You get Micah Parrish, who's averaging 10. For the Golden Gophers, we go over their little dilemma and situation every single day. It's just, this is Garcia's squad. But once you get past him, are we going to rely on Lucy Patterson to be, just another guy on this team to help Garcia? I can't trust that. Minnesota, again, has not been competitive yet in the Big Ten. They are 0-3 in Big Ten play this season. Mike Mitchell's back. He had a really hot start. He's cooled off since, obviously. And Dawson Garcia still, again, averages 19 points and 7 rebounds a night. But you get Garcia, you get Mike Mitchell, then you get Lucy Patterson, and then everyone else really struggles. They are a defensive team, but ultimately you can't hold every Big Ten team to low-scoring games. That's why Indiana beat them. That's why Purdue blew them out in Minneapolis. Purdue beat them by 20 points on the road. And Michigan State beat them by 18. I really think Ohio State should be able to do the same exact thing. Again, Minnesota is by far the worst Big Ten school. And yes, Washington exists, but Minnesota is by far the worst. Hell, I think when UW comes to Minneapolis, I still think Washington can go in there and beat them. Again, yes, Minnesota's going to get their game. I don't think they go winless this year in the Big Ten. I'm just scared that this is going to be the one. Because, guys, they're not going to Wisconsin and winning, and they're not going to Maryland and winning. Those are the next 2 games. Or they're really going to go, and they're not going to beat Michigan at home, and they're not going to go to Iowa and win. They're not going to beat Oregon at home. They're not going to East Lansing and winning. So really, is their next, actual capable, victory game going to be February 1st against UW? In a spot where, okay, maybe Minnesota gets them. It's a 9 a.m. game. Maybe the Golden Gophers get them, but I don't think so. I don't know. That's why I'm a little bit concerned. I'm still taking Ohio State on paper. They're the way better basketball team. Everything points to Ohio State covering and beating the Golden Gophers. So that's exactly why we're picking it. Give me Ohio State on the road in Minneapolis. They'll beat down the Golden Gophers. We're taking the Buckeyes minus 5.5 on the road in Minneapolis to beat the Minnesota Golden Gophers. So folks, thank y'all for watching our 5 best bets for college basketball here on Monday, January 6th. Oh my goodness. If you have not yet though, make sure to hit that subscribe button down below for more. Make sure to leave a like if you did enjoy the video. Make sure to comment if you do disagree with any of the picks. Folks, thank y'all for watching, and Mamba forever.